All right, so thinking about studying in the US and hoping to land a high-paying job after graduation makes sense. We've got a ton of articles and data here from sources like Forbes, the New York Times, and Business Insider, plus some resources specifically for international students. So yeah, we're talking the inside scoop on which fields are paying top dollar, and more importantly, how you can actually snag one of these coveted positions.
It's not just about knowing what to study. It's about understanding the nuances of the U.S. job market and setting yourself up for success from day one.
Totally. And one thing that's super clear from these articles is that tech and healthcare are where it's at. Software engineering in particular seems to be a golden ticket.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
when we dig deeper into the numbers, it's not just about being a coder. These articles emphasize that fluency in specific languages, like Python, Java, and C++ is what really sets you apart, especially if you're aiming for those big tech giants. One article even suggested that specializing in a niche area within software development like cybersecurity or cloud computing can boost your earning potential even further.
Wow, so it's not just about knowing how to code, it's about knowing how to code the right things. But I'm also seeing a lot about data science. Some articles even predict it'll be the most sought after profession in the next few years. What's the deal with that?
Well, the explosion of data is driving huge demand for professionals who can analyze it, interpret it, and turn it into actionable insights. And that's where data scientists come in. We're seeing salary ranges from 100,000 to 160,000. But one source pointed out that location plays a huge role. Cities like San Francisco and New York, where many tech companies are headquartered, tend to offer the highest salaries.
That makes sense. Paychecks probably need to be bigger in those cities just to keep up with the cost of living. And speaking of specialized roles, one article in Business Insider really caught my eye, AI engineer. They're predicting a huge surge in demand by 2025. Is that just a fancy title for a data scientist, or is it something completely different?
It's actually a specialized role within data science. Think of it as a data scientist who focuses specifically on developing and implementing artificial intelligence systems. That's where the AI engineer title comes in.
Yeah.
And as AI becomes even more integrated into our lives, the demand for these specialists is only going to skyrocket. It's a fascinating field to be in right now, and the earning potential is immense.
Okay, so tech is hot. Got it.
Yeah.
But healthcare seems to be a consistent winner too, right? I mean, doctors and surgeons always make bank.
They do, but the sources highlight that it's not a simple path for international students. You need more than just a medical degree from your home country. There are specific licensing exams and certifications required to practice medicine in the U.S. It's a rigorous process, but the rewards can be significant.
Yeah, I can imagine that navigating those licensing requirements could be a whole other deep dive in itself. But what if you're not a coding whiz or aspiring brain surgeon? Are there any high-paying options for people who maybe don't want to spend years and years in school?
Absolutely. One interesting path that a couple of sources mentioned is data center technician. With the rise of cloud computing and big data, these technicians are in high demand, and the pay is surprisingly good. And while some employers prefer a degree, it's not always a requirement. Solid technical skills and relevant certifications can often get your foot in the door.
That's a really good point. It's easy to get tunnel vision when thinking about high-paying jobs, but there are multiple paths to success. It doesn't always have to be the traditional degree, then corner office route. But I guess the big question is, beyond the paycheck, what actually makes these jobs great? I mean, nobody wants to be miserable just to make a lot of money, right?
You're absolutely right. The sources highlight some amazing perks beyond the salary. Think about the possibilities for international exposure, working with cutting-edge technologies, being part of a global team, maybe even relocating to a different country.
Yeah, one article mentioned how some companies even offer sabbaticals or extended travel opportunities for their employees. I mean, who wouldn't want to travel the world while building a killer career?
Exactly. And it's not just about the external perks. Many of these fields offer incredible opportunities for personal and professional growth. You're constantly learning, pushing your boundaries, and collaborating with brilliant minds from all over the world. That kind of intellectual stimulation can be incredibly rewarding.
Okay, so far it sounds like the dream. High salaries, cool perks, intellectual stimulation. But let's be real. I'm sure these sources didn't just paint a rosy picture, right? There have to be some challenges involved, especially for international students trying to break into the U.S. job market.
Of course, there are always challenges. And one of the biggest hurdles for international students is the visa process,
Yeah.
specifically the H-1B visa, which allows international graduates to stay and work in the U.S. The application process can be incredibly competitive and complex, and there are strict limits on the number of visas issued each year.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about the H-1B lottery system. It's like winning the job is just the first step, and then you have to go through this whole other nerve-wracking process. And I bet it's not just the visa process that's tough. Moving to a new country, adapting to a different work culture, that can't be easy either.
It definitely takes a certain level of resilience and adaptability. One source highlighted the importance of researching the company culture before even applying. Understanding things like work-life balance, communication styles, and hierarchy can help you determine if a company is a good fit for you.
That's a great tip. It's not just about finding the right job, it's about finding the right environment where you can thrive. So we've talked about the top paying fields, the perks, the challenges, but let's get down to brass tacks. What are some actionable tips from these sources on how to actually land one of these amazing jobs? This is where I imagine everyone's going to be taking notes.
One recurring theme across the sources is the importance of networking. Start building your professional network early. LinkedIn is your best friend. Connect with people in your field. Join relevant groups and engage in discussions. And don't just focus on online networking. Attend industry events, career fairs, even virtual conferences. You never know who you'll meet.
Yeah, one source suggested reaching out to alumni from your university who are working in your target field. They can offer valuable insights and maybe even open beers for you. And it sounds like internships are absolutely crucial.
Absolutely. Employers want to see practical experience, not just theoretical knowledge. Internships, even unpaid ones, can give you a huge advantage over other candidates.
I was surprised to learn that one source even suggested seeking out internships in your home country at companies with U.S. offices. It's a way to gain experience within a familiar environment while building connections that could potentially lead to opportunities in the U.S. down the line.
That's a clever strategy, and it highlights the importance of thinking outside the box and being proactive. Another practical tip that came up repeatedly was researching visa-friendly companies.
Oh, right. Certain companies are more open to sponsoring international students for H-1B visas.
Exactly. These companies often have dedicated programs or resources to support international hires.
Sure.
So do your research, target these companies, and make sure to highlight your eligibility for sponsorship in your applications.
Okay, so networking internships, targeting visa-friendly companies, those are some solid, actionable tips. Anything else?
Well, one source put it quite bluntly, Polish, those communication skills. English proficiency is obviously essential, but it's not just about grammar and vocabulary. You need to be able to articulate your ideas clearly and confidently, both in writing and in person.
Yeah, one article mentioned how crucial it is to be able to tell your story effectively during job interviews. It's not just about listing your skills, it's about showcasing your personality and passion and demonstrating how you can add value to a company.
Precisely. And remember, communication is a two-way street. Be an active listener, ask thoughtful questions, and show genuine interest in the company and the role.
So you've covered a lot of ground here. Top paying fields, perks, challenges, and some really valuable tips on landing that dream job. But before we dive into some inspiring success stories, I want to touch on one point that several sources emphasized. The job market is constantly evolving. What's hot today might be different in 5 years.
That's a crucial point. What we're discussing today provides a snapshot of the current landscape, but it's essential to stay curious and adaptable. Keep your finger on the pulse of emerging trends and be willing to learn new skills.
Yeah, one article made a great analogy. Think of your career as a marathon, not a sprint. You need to pace yourself, stay flexible, and be prepared to adjust your course along the way.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe the next big thing in tech or healthcare hasn't even been invented yet. It could be something you discover, something you create. That's the exciting part.
Okay, now I'm really curious to hear about those success stories. I think we could all use a little inspiration right now.
Well, one story that really stood out to me was about Aditya, who landed his dream job as a data scientist at Google. And what's interesting is that he actually used a service similar to the one that produced this very deep dive to help him choose the right program and navigate the whole U.S. study and job search process.
Talk about a full circle moment. It just goes to show that with the right resources and a bit of hustle, you can achieve your goals. We also came across the story of Megan, a software engineer at Amazon.
Oh, yeah. What was her story?
Her journey highlights the importance of choosing the right university. She specifically targeted schools with strong connections to the tech industry, and it paid off big time.
So smart networking starts even before you set foot on campus.
Exactly. And get this, she actually landed an internship at Amazon while she was still studying, which ultimately led to a full-time job offer.
Oh.
It's a perfect example of how strategic planning and initiative can really set you apart.
It's like she was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Okay, this is getting me pumped up. Do we have any more success stories?
We do. There's the story of Vinay, a cybersecurity analyst at Microsoft. His story really emphasizes the importance of staying ahead of the curve.
Cybersecurity is definitely a field that's exploding right now. I mean, with all the data breaches and cyber threats, it's no wonder companies are scrambling to hire experts.
Right. Vinay recognized that early on and sought out specialized training and certifications. While he was still in school, that proactive approach made him a highly competitive candidate.
You know, hearing these stories is so inspiring. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you're thinking about studying abroad and launching a career in a new country. But these success stories prove that it's totally doable.
Absolutely. It takes effort and planning, but it's definitely achievable. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. There are tons of resources available to help you every step of the way, from choosing the right program to navigating the visa process.
Speaking of the visa process, that's one thing that keeps coming up in these articles as a major challenge. Any advice from the sources on how to increase your chances of getting that H-1B visa?
One source recommended showcasing your unique skills and experiences. Make sure your application highlights what sets you apart from other candidates. Another source emphasized the importance of having a strong support system. From your university or potential employer, they can provide valuable guidance and even advocate for you during the application process.
That makes sense. Having people in your corner who can vouch for you can make a huge difference. I guess it all comes back to building those relationships and connections.
It really does. So to wrap up our deep dive, you've seen the top jobs, the perks, the challenges, and some real-world success stories. Feeling inspired.
I'm feeling ready to pack my bags and book a flight. But seriously, this has been super helpful. It's given me a much clearer picture of what to expect and how to prepare.
And remember, the job market is constantly evolving. What we've discussed today is a snapshot of the current landscape. But it's essential to stay curious and adaptable. What emerging fields might be booming in a few years?
That's the exciting part. Maybe the next big thing hasn't even been invented yet. What if we're the ones who invent it?
Now you're talking. That's the spirit. Let this deep dive be your springboard. Do your research, connect with people. And most importantly, don't be afraid to dream big.
And who knows? Maybe we'll be featuring your success story on a future episode of The Deep Dive.
We'd love that. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
See you in the next deep dive.
I love that energy. It's not just about following the well-worn path. It's about blazing your own trail.
Exactly. And one thing that really struck me from all these articles is that the skills that are most in demand today are things like critical thinking, problem solving, and adaptability. Those are skills that will serve you well in any field, no matter what the future holds.
It's like they're saying, don't just learn how to code, learn how to think.
Right. Because technology changes so rapidly that the specific tools and languages you learn today might be outdated in a few years. But the ability to think critically and adapt to new challenges will always be valuable.
So it's not just about the technical skills. It's about having that growth mindset and that insatiable curiosity. You know, one source mentioned that some of the most successful people in tech and healthcare actually started in completely different fields.
That's so true. I think it was the Forbes article that highlighted the founder of a successful biotech company who actually started their career as a musician.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that your passions and experiences can all contribute to your success in unexpected ways.
It's like, don't be afraid to bring your whole self to the table. Your unique background and experiences might just be your secret weapon.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. Remember, the journey to landing a high-paying job in the U.S. is just that, a journey.
Yeah.
There will be ups and downs, twists and turns, but with the right preparation, a resilient spirit, and a willingness to embrace the unknown, you can achieve anything you set your mind to.
What a perfect note to end on. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super motivated right now. So to all our listeners out there who are dreaming of studying and working in the U.S., go for it. Do your research, reach out to people, and never stop learning.
And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way, so stay tuned for more deep dives, more insights, and more inspiration.
Until next time, happy diving.